On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Netanyahu came and is visiting today. I'm sure some interesting discussions are coming around that. Also, just kind of funny, there was a rumor floated that Trump was going to pull back on the tariffs. The stock market loved it. And then Carolyn Leavitt came out and said, no, that's not true at all. In fact, that's fake news. And immediately the market reacted, went back down a bunch. Looks like it's rebounded a little bit more as of right now. We'll see. We're in for a bumpy ride. I think we're a little over 10% down since Trump announced this big change that we're doing. And a lot of people are spinning it like, well, Trump made the mistake of trying to make everything better, and that's what he's calling it, right? This moment that we're gonna see our country improve from this moment forward, and in the process has caused the stock market to go down. We expected this. This has been something we've been talking about. Shouldn't surprise most of my listeners, but is definitely pissing off and, angering many across the board. Dan Bongino posted this today. Said, heading back to D.C. after spending a day back home with my wife and daughter. As I dive back into work, I want to reassure you that nothing that is happening here is happening by accident. Because of the sensitivity of what the FBI deals with, both the director and I have to be circumspect in what we make public. Bad guys read this stuff too. Neither one of us came here to play games. Measure us by results. You will see them. But just because you don't see something happening right this second doesn't mean it isn't happening. I'll conclude by stating that not every result is going to please everyone. That's just pandering. It's not leadership. Complex problems require diligence and a reform-oriented process to create lasting change. Or else you are simply putting a bandage on a gushing wound. Let's do it right. God bless America and all those who defend her. Beautiful post. Thank you, Dan. U.S. Justice Department mobilized armed marshals to warn ex-lawyer over congressional testimony, letter shows. This is just strange, so I'm bringing it up for that reason. But the U.S. Department sent armed U.S. marshals to deliver a letter warning a fired career pardon attorney about testifying to Congress, calling them off only when she acknowledged having received the letter by mail or by email, her lawyer said. This highly unusual step of directing armed law enforcement officers to the home of a former Department of Justice employee who has engaged in no misconduct, let alone criminal conduct, simply to deliver a letter is both unprecedented and completely inappropriate, wrote the lawyer. Now, the big question is, I agree, that's really strange. Why are they so determined to make sure this chick shows up where she's supposed to, in front of Congress? Why are they so worried that she won't? I think that's the big question. The fired attorney Liz Oyer is due to testify to Congress later on today, Monday. So we'll see what happens. I don't know why it was so important. I don't know why they went to these lengths, but obviously it was important that she show up. Very interesting how the game's being played. This is fantastic right here. Judge Janine put this out, and this is pretty freaking awesome. Does this disqualify Sandy from higher office, or will she be rewarded by the dishonest lefties who love corruption? What's been put out is AOC has no excuse for why her family has been cashing her dead grandmother's Social Security checks for a decade and a half. We must have just overlooked it. They overlooked a $3,400 deposit from the Social Security Administration every month for 14 and a half years. Yeah, that sounds likely. Again, I've talked about it before. I can understand why people wouldn't necessarily want to stop. A lot of people are just like, it's government money. Who cares? Well, we should care a lot more. Want to remind you guys, of course, of the coupon code that continues to give. That's mypillow.com/OTF. mypillow.com/OTF. Just a couple cool things. One, they get best pillows and mattresses, they got great mattresses too. Great sheets, super deep pockets, the whole 9 yards. They've got a lot of great sales going on. You can 50% off we're talking about on their spring sheets. Their towels are incredible. Only kitchen towels are $9.90. No, kitchen and regular towels. Holy crud, $9.99. Woo! That is a great deal. They got the Mike Cross that Mike Lindell wears all the time. That's 30% off. Sterling silver. Really awesome. Got a bunch of stuff in my store. We're going to get there in a second. Don't want to get ahead of myself. But the original pillow, $17.98. This thing was normally $50. It's $17.98. It's the greatest pillow ever made. It's definitely the one I love the most. The 2.0 is awesome from the standpoint of the outer coating. The filling's a little different. I don't know. If you're crazy like me, you might prefer this one. If you're not crazy with your pillows, unlike me, you're going to love the 2.0. 2.0 is a phenomenal pillow. Absolutely phenomenal pillow. It just does, I don't know what it is. I can't get it to form like the old one. Like the old one, I just smash it together a little bit and boom, it's ready to go. And it just that's kind of the thing Mike said when I had him on the show is, yeah, it just holds its position. And it really does. It does an amazing job at that. Now this is, surprising to me. Now I saw Mike was promoting this. He talked about it when I had him on the show. And they, like I said, reached out and sent me. I got 3 of them. I got the 3 flavors that they got right here. I've only tried one of them so far. This guy. Had it today. Delicious. Delicious. 0 carbs. 0 carbs in this bad boy. So no fat. It's under 10 milligrams of sodium. 0 carbs. Less than a gram anyways. So there's no sugars and there's no protein. What this does have in it, it's got this ingredient that I had to look it up. I'm like, what is this? Beta hydroxybutyrate, BHB, or they call it Go BHB. So this is just a stupid little thing. WebMD, obviously you can't trust it, but it just talks about what this product is. And beta hydroxybutyrate is a chemical that is made by the body. It provides energy when not enough carbohydrates or sugars have been eaten. BHB can also be made in a lab and taken as a supplement, yada, yada. So this is essentially energy in a can that doesn't have sugar, and it doesn't create that sugar effect, and certainly will keep you in ketosis. They call it ketones for this type of sweetener because it's very sweet. I mean, it's delicious. It's hard to believe. It's got sucralose, which is, I don't know, not the greatest thing, but it's certainly better than a lot of the other nasty fake stuff, or sorbate. Wait, no, sucralose, there it is. And potassium sorbate, which is a preservative. And sodium benzoate, also a preservative, but yeah. Good stuff. Great energy. I was really surprised about it, and it's 30% off if you do the subscription, which is super cool. I don't have any idea how much it costs. It's delicious, though. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's click on it. Let's see what it costs. What does this bad boy cost? Better be cheap. Oh, blueberry. Oh, I can't wait to try that. It's going to be delicious. Got the other 2 right here, right? So we got them. Got the 2 products. Well, one of them you can't see because it's green. That's kind of funny. No, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that, though. Where's the price? You going to give me the price? Lemonade 12-pack. All right, all right, $34 for a 12-pack. That's not bad. That's actually not bad at all. Lemonade is delicious. I am assuming the blueberry citrus is going to be also super good. Green apple, I'm not a huge green apple fan, but I will definitely drink it. I don't dislike the taste. And then the sample 3-pack. One-time purchase. Ooh, so you might even be able to get it free as a one-time purchase. Wow. That's kind of a trip. Anyway, yeah, so great product. I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because that was one of the new products that he's got. So certainly you want to go to mypillow.com/OTF to get your soda beverage. Here's my store. So you want to go to mystore.com/OTF. Same great coupon codes. Going to get you all sorts of great stuff there. Great flags, bleeding stop. They've got these bungee cords, books. This stuff's actually really cool. This FW1 wash and wax. I found this in a gas station years ago. I've actually got 2 cans of this, can and a half. I use it to clean my bike. My bike's electric, and you can't really take it down and power wash it. So keeping it clean is kind of a pain in the ass. This is essentially you spray it on. It's a cleaner, and then it's a wax at the same time. It's surprisingly good. I mean, it's surprisingly good, and it leaves a great finish afterwards, shiny and everything. Looks like it's been waxed. And you spray it on, you wipe it off, and then kind of take a clean cloth to it at the very end because that'll wipe off any residual residue, if you will, even though that's kind of redundant. But yeah, so it is an incredible product. Highly recommend it. They've got the bionic wrench, which is supposed to be super cool. What is this? Body detailer, bar soap. They got some really cool stuff here. They've got this whole Britney's Time exclusive luxury skincare bundle. They got socks. They've got Chumax pet jerky, these 4-packs. Some incredible barbecue sauce. Thank you very much. Fishing Buddy. That's a cooler. Keep beta alive and all that stuff. I'm sure we've got a lot of fisher of men out there. And some skin stuff. Zone Protect from the insect repellent. Some of you guys out there in parts of our nation are going to be seeing major insects here anytime soon. So again, a lot of great products. Go to mystore.com/OTF or mypillow.com/OTF. I think there's actually there was anyways on my actual tab. Let's see if I can get it again. I believe there is you can get straight to the My Store from there as well. Yeah, it does the same thing. Does not see, it puts the coupon code in for you. Cool. Oh, kind of weird. Go to My Store. Interesting. That's cool. All said, just great products. You guys definitely want to take advantage of them, especially these cool slippers. Go to mypillow.com/OTF. That's mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you have ever had. All right, whole bunch of stuff around tariffs, around people freaking out about the tariffs, around economists freaking out about the tariffs, which, of course, is funny because they want to make it sound like this is destroying the economy. Now, this is the deep state trying to do this. Trump is ultimately going to find that this is going to work. We're all going to find that it's going to work. But what we are going to see is the deep state make every effort they can to blame Trump as the settling occurs. And that's really what's going to be happening. We've got a problem with our economy. Our stock market was way overburdened, way overpriced, and that needed to come down. We've got a lot of people that have been really smart about how they're essentially tying this into treasuries, and that seems to be a huge part of why Trump is doing this. We'll get to that. But there's a serious method of the madness not being talked about by your finks at BlackRock or anything like that. No, because then they'd ultimately give Trump credit. You can't do that. So we're in a tough place, and this tariff thing is necessary. Trump's been talking about, I think, here's him on Oprah back in like the 80s, late 80s or something, early 90s, somewhere around there. But Trump's not changed at all. Check it out.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
It's a joke, is right. That is correctamundo. There we go. Donald Trump truth this out. We have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs, which are now bringing tens of billions of dollars into the USA. They are already in effect and a beautiful thing to behold. The surplus with these countries has grown during the presidency of sleepy Joe Biden. We are going to reverse it and reverse it quickly. Someday people will realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing. Now, Goldman Sachs, they're actually raising the odds of a recession to 45%, second hike in a week. Now, I think this kind of ties into this story here, I believe. Nope, sorry, right here. There it is. Let's make it where it should go. BlackRock Larry Fink, their CEO, I guess, he warned on Monday that most chief executives would say the U.S. economy is currently in a recession. Fink spoke after Trump threatened to further hike tariffs on Chinese goods by an additional 50% if Beijing did not remove previously announced retaliatory levies. Most CEOs I talked to would say that we are probably in a recession right now. Now, first off, we're going to go back a full year. And we're going to say that we were already in a recession then. But Joe Biden, with our lying ways of reporting, was saying, no, that's not true, even though we had actually slid backwards in our economy for the required, I think it's, was it four? No, two. I think it's 2 quarters in a row. That's considered a recession, right? And then 4 is a depression. They never called it, right? They tried to do everything in their power but do that. So now all of a sudden, now that Trump is doing something to fix things, now they're saying we're in a recession. And that is, I think, important to pay attention to. Larry Fink, BlackRock, one of the largest investors on the planet, is putting out information that's meant to scare people. Something to keep in mind. Crude oil for the first time in God knows how long. I think it's been since, for the first time in 4 years at least. Okay, I guess if you read the article, it'll tell you that. But we're below 60 on the barrel of crude. This is one thing that OPEC is pretty pissed off about, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the United States is now producing oil, and we're making some money doing it. And this is causing the price of oil to come down, which OPEC Plus does not like. But needless to say, it's still happening. Now, Hong Kong's stock market, it closed down 13.2%. The biggest one-day drop since 1997. Taiwan stocks plummet in biggest one-day drop on record. Circuit breakers triggered for TSMC. We had DAX was down 7%. Britain's market was down 4.83%. France's was down 6.14%. And Euro stocks were down 6.43%. Now, overall, after the day was done, this is pretty much, I think, where they ended up, because their day ended already. I think technically we've still got 2 hours, I think it is, left here in the United States, at least as far as what time it is right now as I'm recording. Hong Kong being the worst, 13.2% down. Taiwan, 9.7% down. Japan, 8.3%. Singapore, 7.4%. China, 7.3%. Sweden, 6.2%. Netherlands, 6.1%. Australia, 6.1%. Not a good day, mate. France, 6%. Spain 5.7, Germany 5.6, Switzerland 5.5, UK 4.6, Philippines 4.3, Malaysia 4%, India 3.8, Russia 3.1, Turkey 2.5, and Saudi Arabia was the only market that was positive, 0.5%. Everyone else, all the other numbers I gave were all negative numbers, by the way. I just didn't want to repeat the word negative 15 times. That's a bad day at the office for the entire world. Now, this was the funniest part about it. I literally laughed when I saw this, because I saw it when first thing I did is I looked at the market this morning, because futures were down, but not huge. So I was kind of expecting the market to be down, but nothing too terribly crazy. And then I looked at it, and everything but Dow was up. S&P and NASDAQ were both up quite a bit. It was like, oh, okay, damn, sweet. There you go. Coming on back. That looks good. Dow was down, but Dow was way overpriced, so that's cool. Well, they had this story out. They were floating it that Trump was talking to people close to him, according to sources close to Trump, and he was talking about how he was going to pull back the tariffs or cut them in half or make them smaller. This is a made-up story, And the stock market, when it heard that story, went up, and that's why it was up. And then this happened. Carolyn Leavitt was asked about this, and she gave a response. Stock markets did not like this response.
Spoke to Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, on the phone just a short time ago, and she tells me it is quote-unquote fake news that the White House is considering a 90-day pause. So the White House pouring cold water on this idea, wherever it came from, that they're considering a 90-day pause on tariffs, saying that the president is committed to his tariff regime, and any reports that he's considering a 90-day pause are, quote, fake news. That from the White House press secretary on the record just a short time ago to me on the cell phone here as we try to sort through where this came from and why it is that the market became convinced that might be a possibility. The White House saying it is not a possibility, Carl.
Yeah, not happening. I love it. We got such a difficult language here, especially when it comes to names, because names are from all over the place. So I always call her Leavitt. It's supposed to be Levitt, apparently, and that makes sense, right? Feather, Levitt, right? So I think Leavitt would be 2 E's. Right? Feather would be 2 E's, right? Anyway, whatever. It's hard as hell to get people's names right. Not to mention they're pronounced weirdly, oftentimes anyways. So again, NASDAQ up a little bit as of right now. It went way down after the news came out. Well, it went down quite a bit anyways. Ways maybe, I think I saw it at 2.5%, 3%, somewhere in that vicinity. S&P is still a little bit down, but it's probably rounding the corner. Dow Jones has been down all day. It was down worse earlier, so looks like it's trying to rebound a little bit. Maybe it'll do better. We'll see. Again, this is all around the additional threat of tariffs, and that right now is not good for the rest of the world. It's going to be fine for us. It's going to hurt at first, but it will get better. That is for sure. And Trump's even got a specific new term that he's created for people that panic. Panicans, I think he called them. We'll get there, but pretty damn funny. Gold is down a little. It got up to about 3150 was the high it got to, and right now it's down, I don't know, just a little below 3,000, which, about 150 on 3,100, so I mean, it's, a small percentage. It's not that much percentage-wise that it's down, considering the stock market has been down about 10% or so. Gold's not even close to being down that much. More like 5% probably, 3,100. 10% would be, a drop of about $310. It's gone down about 150. So, about 5% drop versus, 10+% drop on the stocks. So, again, gold has performed way better than the stock market on the way up, and certainly has not fallen as hard and fast on the way down. So again, silver much the same. So a lot of good things coming. We're getting there. Europe tries to organize a united response to Trump's tariffs, but they can't. They can't get... There's only two real countries that want to be like hardcore, and that's Germany and France. France just being dicks, which is fine. That's kind of expected. Germany doesn't really have the wherewithal, the power politically to pull this off. We've got German Chancellor Olaf Scholz criticized the measure, but he's a lame duck, so he can't do anything. And Friedrich Merz, Scholz's likely successor, is trying to cobble together a viable coalition. It's not happening. Italy's Giorgia Meloni, basically kind of playing it cool because of all the European, of the Europeans, and she's one of the stronger, Italy, I think, is the third strongest economy in the European Union right now. Obviously, Hungary has much love. Orban loves Trump, so I can't, we don't want to give too much credit to this lovely lady in Italy, but she does definitely like Trump, and she's been good. There's been some weird stuff that's happened here and there, and I think some of it's just because how much deep state's still involved in her country. But, she's kind of like, Trump's doing what he's doing, and then now she's like, trying to work out deals or trying to, sort of save face amongst the European community without totally shitting all over Trump, I guess, without a better way to say it. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, well, she announced the EU is preparing to negotiate with the U.S. In fact, what we're hearing is they're talking a 0 for 0 on the tariffs. Like, maybe we won.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests.
Yeah, so they're on industrial goods, which they've never given us a 0 tariff on industrial goods, like she said with other trading partners, not us. United States has been paying through the nose, not anymore. Again, another victory that Trump has given us. Now, oddly, there's a closed board meeting, and this is for the Federal Reserve Board. They're having a closed door board meeting regarding public observations. Let's see, they're not going to televise or anything. We don't know exactly what they're talking about. We could speculate, probably be pretty close. But yeah, the Fed's got a bit of a problem. There is discussions and talks that possibly as soon as June, we might see the first interest rate drop. There's the expectation that they'll do 0.25% drops. We'll see. We'll see. Again, getting too far ahead of us, a lot's going to happen between now and then. If Trump really does manage to bring down the prices, bring down the trade deficits, basically, and we start actually selling more stuff, and we actually start buying more locally American stuff, like, we're probably going to start to see things improve here in this country. And then the Fed's going to need to kind of pull back on that monetary easing because, again, this Treasury thing. Now, I don't fully understand it all, but we'll talk about it a little bit coming up. Trump truthed this out. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a Panican, a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. He's right. Now we've said this before. I want to say it again because I think it's very important and somewhat hard to totally understand or explain, but I think this guy does a pretty good job. Trump is trying to crash the stock market at least 20%, which we're at the 10 mark. That's where I think it needs to go a little further, causing a flight into treasuries. This will cause the Fed to slash interest rates so he can refinance the debt at nearly 0% and cause a deflationary spiral, which will lower the cost of everything. That's the thing. If we can get the interest rate so low or even negative, then we can refinance the debt, actually make money on the refinancing of the debt, and then start to pay it down. It's kind of an interesting idea. He also intends to use tariffs as an incentive for companies to build in the U.S. to avoid having to pay them. The tariffs and the resulting global trade war will also force American farmers to sell more of their goods in the U.S. due to retaliatory trade measures by other countries, which will directly lower the prices of groceries in the United States. More than 94% of all stock is owned by just 8% of the U.S. population. Trump is literally taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. This is why Trump is playing the game of hokey pokey with tariffs. One day he has 25% tariffs on Mexico, and the next he doesn't. This is to cause extreme volatility in the markets and a desperate need and demand to flee towards Treasury bonds, which are much more stable but offer much lower potential return. This is also why eggs are cheaper now than they were under Joe Biden. So a lot of things are moving in the right direction, although it might seem like it's going in the wrong direction. Through the darkness will come the light, right? From this darkest before dawn, I guess they always say. So tariffs aren't the main focus here. There's two sides to this same general coin. Since Trump assumed office in January of 2025, the 10-year yield has fallen from 4.79% to 4.17%. That 0.62% decrease might seem minor, but consider the U.S. debt of $36.5 trillion. What we're witnessing is a massive stealth refinancing effort. Lower yields means trillions in interest savings. It creates more room to breathe and eases inflationary pressure, and the market is already reacting to this shift. While everyone is fixated on tariffs, the real shift is happening with the yield curve. Trump isn't only reducing spending, he's actively reshaping the nation's financial structure in real time. I think the treasuries have a lot to do with people essentially buying our debts. And if it's lower percentages, but it becomes a smarter move than some of the other options, then people are going to buy that debt. We'll be able to sort of restructure, refinance, and get it paid for, and get it paid down. It's kind of a brilliant idea. Here's Donald Trump talking about how this is not sustainable. We can't continue losing money like we are. So something has to be done. Radical stuff needs to be done, and it's going to hurt at first, and then it will feel much, much better.
I've spoken to many countries. They all want to do, just so you understand the power of what I'm doing, every country is calling and being very solicitous of us. Very, very nice. They're being very nice. And we have to be able to justify. This is not sustainable. The United States can't lose $1.9 trillion on trade. We can't do that and also spend a lot of money on NATO in order to protect European nations. We cover them with military, then we lose money on trade. The whole thing is crazy. And I got elected on that basis. We explained it. You know, the American people understand it a lot better than the media. But the media understands it. And much of the media writes correctly about it, I must say.
Yeah, so again, the truth is coming out. People are seeing it and figuring it out. Now, this was the big thing that happened that caused additional freaking out. Donald Trump truth this out. Yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, 2025, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50%, effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, he's called China out in a big way. We'll see what China chooses to do. I think they're going to play tough. I do. And that's going to cause another round of panic on the stock market, and that is going to hurt China even more. Now, here's the thing, guys. For those of you that want to buy some cheap crap that's Chinese made, highly recommend you get your ass on it like ASAP, immediately, like today. The longer you wait, the more expensive stuff's going to get. Now, how much more expensive? I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as they're trying to make it sound like, but the prices of some stuff are going to go up big time. Target's having a really hard time because they buy a lot of their crap from China. So their stocks have been hammered. Walmart, much the same. They buy a lot of their crap from China as well. Costco, a lot of their shit comes from China. So we've got a problem, essentially. And a lot of the places that we typically rely on are, well, they're drying up a little bit right now. Probably going to get better soon, but it's going to get kind of bumpy before then. President Trump would veto a bill introduced by Senators Maria Cantwell and Chuck Grassley that would limit the president's authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. This is that one where Congress would need to approve any tariffs within 60 days. Trump's like, yeah, go ahead and pass it. First off, there's no guarantee it's going to get through the House. Might make it through the Senate, maybe. No guarantee it's going to get through the House. And even if it does, Trump's like, I'll veto it the second it hits my desk. There's no way they have 2/3 to be able to push it through without with the veto. So, yeah, it's just not going to happen. So that's cool. That made me feel better. And I don't get why Grassley's doing this. I like Chuck Grassley a lot. And again, at this point, nothing seems to make a lot of sense politically. This thing with Luna and the kid, even though Trump, they've come around. We've got a story on that. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. This dude's funny. He's, I'm guessing Australian. He sounds Australian to me. He's talking about why does everyone have mental illness these days? Now, for people with sensitive ears, I think cusses a bunch. I believe he uses the F word a number of times at least. But yeah, all said, it's funny as hell, needless to say, if you can get past the cussing, if that doesn't bother you too much, hopefully.
I don't know if this is just me, but have you noticed that people these days collect mental illnesses like they're fucking Pokemon cards? Like everybody I bump into these days seems to have some kind of debilitating mental illness. I've got ADHD, depression, autism, and I'm a multinational corporation. I'm a handicapped migrant, transgender youth with a fucking hearing aid. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Would you like fries with that, mate? Obviously, some people out there got some shit, but I had no idea it was like 100% of everybody you meet. It's all made up if you ask me. I don't get it, mate. I was down the road the other day and I was witnessing like an argument, right? Some lady was going off at this guy because apparently he was being rude to the staff at Walmart. And then he switches up. Oh, it's not my fault. I've got ADHD and depression. And it's like, I don't give a fuck what you got, mate. When did this shit get cool? Did TikTok make it cool to be mentally ill? Because to me, you're just fucking crazy, mate.
I love how other cultures can use the C-bomb like without any concerns. And here in the States, boy, you say that word, you better start running or, put something up that can block objects being thrown at you. Schatz, he's a senator, not just the past tense of taking a dump. Just kidding. Schatz expanded holds more than 300 Trump nominees. I don't understand how this is possible. Senator Brian Schatz, Democrat from Hawaii, is expanding his hold on President Trump's nominees to include an additional 50 names. This dude single-handedly is halting more than about 300 people that aren't getting nominated because this guy's pissed off. I don't even know what he's mad at. Holt spans all these nominations. Spatz also is blocking 9 bipartisan bills that recently cleared the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in protest of what he characterizes as the committee's lax oversight of the Trump administration. Oh, he wants people to be much harsher on Donald Trump. Interesting. And this is part of why there's so many executive orders right now. And I don't know, there's this weird, can't quite put my finger on it, but Congress seems broken, right? And I don't just mean from the standpoint none of us trust them. Duh. I mean, that's a given. They just seem broken. They seem incapable of doing anything other than investigations right now. And man, the conspiracy part of my brain just cannot stop going, maybe we are in like a different place right now where maybe Congress has, because it's a time of war or something, they don't have as much power as, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. I'm curious. Get that in the comments. I think it's very strange that Congress is at a standstill. They can't do crap. And they're talking about weird, stupid stuff. I mean, at best, trying to get them to get a budget pushed through is, well, proving to be very difficult. Appeals court blocks Trump from removing Dems on the labor board. The D.C. Circuit on Monday blocked Trump, for now, from firing Democratic members of 2 different federal labor boards. This isn't going to hold up, but ultimately they're expecting this one to get up to the Supreme Court. And the president's, there's no way independent agencies can exist within the executive branch that the executor of the executive branch doesn't have control over. Just no way. I know that Congress wants that to be the case, but equal branches of government. Congress doesn't have power to inflict permanent damage on the executive or the executive branch, nor does the executive branch have the ability to insert controls on the legislative branch, period. And the Supreme Court basically is there to make sure nobody's doing anything illegal as far as the Constitution's concerned. And so they can't be enforced either. So it's just strange to me. But yes, this vote, 7-4 vote, the ruling overturned a previous one from 3-judge panel on the court. at issue is Trump's abrupt firing of Gwen Wilcox, a Democratic member of the National Labor Relations Board, and Kathy Harris, who sits on the Merit Systems Protection Board. They both serve as judicial body that oversees the federal workforce, but they're in the executive branch. They're judicial body in the executive branch. Can't do that. It's not in the Constitution. It's not legal. It's a big part of what we're also dealing with and unraveling right now. Department of Justice lawyers are arguing that a federal judge cannot order the Trump administration to facilitate the return of an alleged MS-13 gang member who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Yeah, he's just basically going, look, you guys can't do that. Not even legal. Per CBS News, the DOJ lawyers argued that a judicial order that forces the executive to engage with a foreign power in a certain way, let alone compel a certain action by a foreign sovereign, is constitutionally intolerable. Now, the judge disagrees, obviously. While the Trump administration said Garcia's deportation was due to an administrative error and oversight, which is what they keep hammering on, but I love how our good friend Levitt is letting us know, yeah, there's this small little thing, but the dude's a criminal. And whether or not we have to prove that to the judge, I think is also not constitutional. We made this choice as a commander-in-chief, and he kicked him out. So they don't have a say. He's operating within his constitutional authority. He's just getting destroyed by these stupid district judges. It's all coming to a head. No worries.
First of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore. And it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping. And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
So that the whole thing is just because there was an administrative error and oversight, which could have been anything about his address or spelling of his name or anything, a clerical error, something that a low-level data entry individual did as an error, is not necessarily anything to say that this dude isn't, in fact, a MS-13 leader, that he isn't, in fact, involved in human trafficking. And no, the judge, you don't get an opportunity to assess whether you agree with the administration. The administration has deemed this individual a enemy of the state, period. Done. They're within their boundaries. This is a slam dunk case. The Fourth Circuit, they have denied the Trump administration's attempt to oppose a directive requiring Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return to the United States by midnight tonight. Trump administration is trying to say you guys don't have a right to do that. They basically said, screw you. We are doing it. And so now the Trump administration's asking the Supreme Court to intervene because we're not deporting the dude back is what's going on. And they're well within their rights. The administrative branch is well within their rights. Supreme Court needs to rein in these district judges. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a busy year for the Supreme Court. Musk's DOGE team can access government data for now, the appeals court rules. This had to do with the Treasury Department, Education Department, and the Office of Personnel Management. They might as well just get their asses in there quick because this, obviously could change in a day. But it was a 2-1 vote in the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Maryland. Federal judge ruled against the Department of Government Efficiency initially. The appeals court also voted 8-7 against considering the matter en banc, which means all active judges would decide. So again, this is moving forward for now, but Trump has the ability to look at the data. Johnson is striking a deal with Luna on parental proxy voting. This is bizarre. First off, I don't like the idea of proxy voting. Whatever. Let's just leave that aside. I'm going to lose on this argument. Trump is supportive of this. All right, so whatever. I'll step aside. My opinion's going to differ than others. That's cool. I'm fine with that. It doesn't bug. But what they're trying to put through, I want to see vote pairing. Vote pairing. This is the agreement that Luna's cool with. And what this essentially means is if you, say, are a Republican, and you won't be able to vote because of baby, because of sickness, because of bereavement, because of just something, life popped up, and for whatever reason, you're not able to vote. What they're talking about with vote pairing means you then would find a person on the other side of the aisle, and then they can't vote in order to kind of neutralize out your lack of vote. So you're not, as a Republican, able to vote. Well, we're going to remove one of the Democrat votes, and we're going to pair those two votes together. Now, this obviously has to pass through the House. If both sides pass this, that's how it's going to be. And they won't be able to argue. They won't be able to I don't want to not vote. Well, you're the one that's paired with this individual. So if that individual can't vote, or if you can't vote, that individual can't vote. It's just how it is. So again, weird way to solve the problem. I guess it works. I don't know. It's an interesting creative solution. I'll give you that. Definitely out of the box thinking. Once again, that's cool. So, House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris, he's a Republican from Maryland, said he would oppose the Senate's version of sweeping legislation to advance President Donald Trump's agenda if it was voted on in his chamber this week. He said, at this point, I would vote against it, Harris told Fox News. He is also calling for the House and Senate to get to work on their own versions of the plan after the latter passed an amended version of the former's legislation in the early hours of Saturday morning. We can't get any of these guys to come together and work together at all. And the Freedom Caucus, again, the Freedom Caucus, that's where Luna's a part of. That was where Massey was a part of. So these Freedom Caucus individuals, which we thought they were all awesome, right? These are all the people we love. They're part of our MAGA group. I don't know if that's true. In fact, generally, whenever anyone takes a cool name like that, like the Save the Water Act or Freedom Caucus, it almost never is what they say it is, right? In fact, it's oftentimes the opposite almost. So it makes me wonder what's going on with these guys. I'm gonna honestly say, depending on how things play out, certainly over the next short period of time, I'm almost going to say anybody that's in the Freedom Caucus in the next election, I think we should primary the hell out of and see if we can get someone in there that's MAGA specifically. Not freedom. I know I love the word freedom just like you do, but we've seen a lot of problems come from these Freedom Caucus people. They're major problems. In fact, I think Matt Gaetz was one of them, and he was the one that kind of shook a lot of stuff up to begin with, too. So again, it's a mess. I think, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't know if she's in the Freedom Caucus or not, but she had her moment, and then she kind of came back around. So, again, she's playing things on the right side of the fence. I like that. Again, I'm going to call all these people out anytime. I don't care. I'm not beholden to anybody, and I don't give a crap what letter you got next to your name. I care what you're doing, how you're helping this country, and if you're not doing that, if you're not helping us move the ball forward, even if you're laterals, I'll take a lateral as long as it ultimately moves forward. If you lateral and then go backwards, no. You're done. You're costing us stuff now. New York State Education Department refuses to eliminate DEI practices. This is obviously going to affect their funding. Their funding is going to dry up. New York and California are going to have extremely difficult 12-month periods coming up. That's all there is to it. In fact, I would say it's already started. They were already in trouble, and now they're not getting the money that they were expecting to get, that they've already spent, basically. They're in a world of hurt. So Kathy Hochul is, a pretty horrible person, best we can tell. Definitely not a good governor. I mean, Cuomo was a crap-ass governor, too. We'll see what happens. Hopefully New York we can get them kind of under control. Hopefully we can get California under control, says Californian. Texas Senate passes bill to prohibit sex changes on birth certificates. It's kind of something crappy that a state's doing over here with New York, and something, positive that Texas is doing. I don't know. I had one of my gym friend kind of talked to me today, and he's like, you got to watch Glenn Beck today. And I'm like, all right, what's up? Why do I got to watch Glenn Beck? And he's like, because he's going to talk about the Muslim city in north of Houston or wherever it is. I think it's somewhere like around there. And I'm like, the Muslim city? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, what? So what's wrong with the Muslim city? He's just, there's a bunch of them there. And I'm like, what? Huh? So we had a little discussion that I felt that was kind of a weird story. And I really feel like it creates this sort of hatred for a group of people. I'm not fond of moving in that direction. I don't ever think an entire group of people are at fault. The Houthis would be a small example, but then I even said then that there's Houthis that had wives that I think were just, they weren't able to say no to their husbands, right? So not necessarily every Houthi was a bad person. Most of them were terrorists. Yeah, it seems to be. But again, I don't think things are as black and white as most everybody tries to make them. And maybe that's my the thing that you guys tolerate with me. And I appreciate the fact that you do. Thank you very much. The Root Brands is another one of these great products. I like them for, a number of reasons. And I finally got my crush. It's the only thing that bums me out about this company is I don't do smoothies. I just don't ever. I don't like to. But a lot of the stuff that they have is powders. So if you're into smoothies and stuff, oh man, they've got the Relive Greens. It's incredible. This Crush is a powder, which I'll see if I can mix it in with the other drink I've got that I can stir in with the spoon. Stirs in just fine in the water. So if I can get this to mix in and I can drink it and it doesn't taste like shit, we'll totally do it because this Crush stuff's got such good amino acids in it. Like, this is awesome. I totally want it. I did get this. I don't know how badly I need it, but I'm going to try it. Sculpt. It's kind of a diet thing. I don't know. You're supposed to eat one in the morning, one at night. I ate one this morning. I don't know. I ate some food, so it's not like it took away my appetite. But it is supposed to, to assist the body in supporting healthy weight loss by targeting the reduction of excess glucose calorie absorption. So it helps you not keep all the sugars in your body, which is cool because I'm assuming alcohol is part of that. They actually have a really cool product, by the way, for drinkers, by the way, which I am. Clean Spirits. This is like the day after Miracle drug, if you will. The Clean Slate's just the liquid stuff. You put it right in your mouth, and the Clean Spirits pill, it just helps you process after a tough night of drinking. Helps in a lot of ways. I think it even kind of sort of helps sober you up a little bit. So really, really strong stuff. They've also got really strong skin stuff. These peptide cleansers, peptide serum, and this Ella Pure. This stuff's actually really good. I've used this before. It's a very good moisturizer. I gave it to my girlfriend because I suck. And I don't like moisturizers because I don't like putting shit like that on. I just don't. I put it on once or twice. And I'm like, oh yeah, it looks nice. It actually helped with the bags under my eyes. Actually looked a little better. I looked a little healthier, a little less old. I hate doing it though. I'm too lazy. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I don't like what it feels like. I just think it's gross. I don't know. I'm weird. Ladies, you tend to like it a lot more. This stuff's awesome. They've also got this facelift product, which is really supposed to help kind of tighten up the face as well. So here's some more peptide stuff. Moisturizer. So again, just really, really good products. They've also got this pet stuff. Yeah, Pure Clean Pets. No, it's not that. Koto. Yeah, Koto's good because I actually pulled up a couple of these. So here's the peptide cleansers. We talked about that. It's really good stuff. That's 3 packs. So you get all that stuff for $199. It's actually not a bad deal. And if you subscribe, by the way, so that means they're just going to send you one every month and then charge you. It saves you $20. It saves you 10%. Whenever you do that. On all the products, if you subscribe, you're going to get a 10% discount. So it's incredible. Facelift, I was talking about that. It's only $54. Again, subscribe, you're going to save 10%. That gets it down to $48.60. Just a better way to go about it. You can kill the subscription anytime you want, but you're going to save 10% just by not having to remember to order it. It's just going to show up. Also kind of helps you use it. This is the interesting one. Koto is revolutionary spray with patent-pending technology. Ooh. Koto does not claim to be antimicrobial, antibacterial, or anti-pesticide, though it is kind of. But it was naturally created, aimed with the goal of creating a sustained protective barrier that guards against 5G technology, EMF radiation, heavy metals, viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi. It's for your animals, for your dogs and cats. You just spray it on the coat. Now, cats, I don't know. Dogs might be better. I mean, I assume it would work on cats. I just think cats are better at cleaning themselves, so I assume it's not going to kill them. It's got stuff that's not like poison, so yeah, it's probably not going to make them sick. B3, aloe vera. I mean, I guess if they did eat this, it'd probably just make them healthy. I don't know what the blend of orthosilic acid will do for them, but that's really what helps. So anyway, it's something you just spray on their coat, and it kind of protects them. Just kind of helps them have a little extra barrier to keep them from, getting sick or any of that. And something similar for people. And this apparently is only for U.S. and Canadian members or people that live in U.S. or Canada only. But this is like an air shield. And you kind of hang it around the front of you, and it creates a 4-foot clean air zone, a bubble. This is for people that are really worried about getting sick. Maybe you've got a reduced immune system. I don't know. Maybe you've rolled up your sleeve and you kind of notice that you get sick a lot easier now. This is one of those things that's going to kind of help. You can attach it to a shirt. It lasts up to 28 hours on, and it takes about 3 to 5 hours to recharge. It produces ion density of 50 million per cubic centimeter, which is a lot, and it creates ion wind of 90 feet per minute. No idea. That sounds really impressive. It moves a lot of air is I think what that's basically saying, which is impressive. So this thing's an awesome little shield that's going to help keep you safe and protected. So again, just a lot of really good products. Just check out the catalog and see. But there's just some really, really good stuff. And just a great company. The husband and wife. I've talked to the husband a few times. I don't think I've ever actually talked to the wife. Seems like a nice lady. But I've talked to the dude a few times. He's actually kind of a funny guy. He's been on a couple people's shows, so yeah, he's a good guy. He's the one that really got me into the Focus. This dude like eats them like candy, man. He's eating like 6 a day or whatever. The dude's just always like, and you know it when you talk to him because he's just like, he's got like 40 things he wants to say at once, and he's gonna damn near say them all. But you want to go to therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. That's therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. And again, one of those products, if you actually like what's going on, this is another one of those things that you can join. And it's pretty impressive when you do. Again, you get a discount on your own products. You can actually make a little bit of money, which is very cool, especially if you know a few people that do this. So all you got to do is just try to join, which I can't quite remember how you do that. Root Prime, about us, contact us, sign up, log in. Yeah, sign up, log in. So you'd want to sign up, you create your account, you use me as your, essentially just put my name, Dan Radio Style, in there as the member or whatever it is, sponsor, I think they call it. And then you create an account and life is good and golden. So again, great products. And if you start selling the products, and all you got to do is just create the account, and I think you can start selling them at that point. But it works really, really well. And it's one of those things where you find a few of these products that you really, really like, and then you realize, holy crap, this is just a really good product line. And that's what it is. Clean slate's great. You put a few drops and you know it's working. It's like eating asparagus or eating vitamins. You can smell it in the pee, if you will. And I'm not trying to be gross, but that is really how you know. When you do the clean slate, you pee, you'll smell like, oh my God, it smells like it's getting stuff out of me. Yeah, it's pretty rad. So therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style, therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. Fantabulous. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. traveled to West Texas on Sunday after a second elementary school-aged child died from measles-related illness. Kennedy said he was working with Texas health officials to control the measles outbreak. Seminole is the epicenter of the outbreak, which started in late January and continues to swell. They've got nearly 500 cases in Texas alone, plus cases from the outbreak believed to have spread to New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Mexico. The second young child died Thursday from what the child's doctor described as measles pulmonary failure and did not have underlying health conditions. Essentially, it seems he died from the measles. Now, again, we've got a lot of people that have come here that did not get the regular MMR vaccine, which I know a lot of us don't like vaccines, and I don't either. And in fact, I think I've got Kennedy talking about when he grew up and got the measles. It's kind of like chickenpox. Would you get a chickenpox vaccine? I wouldn't, because I've had the chickenpox. But if you get the chickenpox, then they go away. I mean, it sucks as an adult, it sucks more, but as a kid, no, you wouldn't put a kid in a chickenpox vaccine. That'd be stupid. Not to mention, there's probably a direct relation to shingles. And on top of that, the shingles vaccine freaks me out because that like almost guarantees to get you. I have a friend that had shingles, and man, it was brutal. It was brutal for him. He had a really, really hard. It hurt. Like clothes would just having clothes touch your skin is painful. Like I hear it's really, really horrible. But again, most people don't get it, right? So just because if you get it, it's going to suck doesn't mean you enhance your chances of getting it by getting a vaccine. And this is kind of why I feel that way. This is a study. MedRxiv did this. It's one of the health services that are out there. Effectiveness of the influenza vaccine during the 2024-2025 respiratory viral season. Long story short, what they found is that people who took the vaccine had a 26.9 or 27% chance stronger chance of getting the flu than those that didn't get the vaccine. That's the results. Among the 5,300 employees and 4,300 that had received the influenza vaccine by the end of the study, influenza occurred in 1,079 or 2.02% during the study. The cumulative incidence of influenza was similar for the vaccinated and unvaccinated states early, but over the course of the study, the cumulative incidence of influenza increased more rapidly among the vaccinated than the unvaccinated. In an analysis adjusted for age, sex, and clinical nursing jobs and employment location, the risk of influenza was significantly higher for the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated state. Significantly higher. Calculated vaccine effectiveness of minus 26.9. Not good. So the conclusion study found that the influenza vaccine of working-aged adults was associated with a higher risk of influenza during the 2024-2025 respiratory viral session, suggesting that the vaccine has not been effective in preventing influenza this season. It's less effective in preventing it. You're better off just not getting the vaccine and using your natural immunity. And, go to twc.health/OTF, right? The wellness company, twc.health. Get yourself that contagion kit. Make sure you've got some Ivers. Make sure you've got some hydroxychloroquine. Make sure you've got some Tamiflu. Make sure you've got this stuff. So if by chance you do get sick, which is rare, but for a lot of us, maybe every 3 years or so, every 5 years, I don't know. Some of us hardly ever. Some of us maybe more often. A lot of things we can do to enhance that. But ultimately, if you've got the meds to help you whenever you do get sick, it's not a big deal. The 2 times I think I had extremely bad flus. One was the COVID, I think. And then 2, I had a flu not too terribly long ago. And I ate the Ivers, man. And I tell you what, within 36 hours, I went from, oh man, I think I'm really getting sick, to I think I'm going to die, to holy crap, I feel significantly better. Literally in 36 hours. It's amazing. I've never had that in the past. It took, 4, 5, 6 days to work through the flu, right? You had to feed a cold, you starve a fever, right? And that was the whole thing. So you don't eat for days, you lose weight, all this horrible stuff happens. Well, I still didn't eat for 3 days, but and I lost a bunch of weight. That was kind of cool. But it's hard as hell to start eating again. It's kind of dangerous, actually. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Now here's RFK Jr. talking about measles, talking about what happened when he got the measles when he was a kid. And, he's got to, as the health director guy, he's got to say stuff about this. Otherwise, they're going to destroy him in the press, and he won't be able to maintain. So he had to do what he did. But I like what he's coming out here and talking about as well, because I think that's some extra added information that's very helpful.
When I had measles when I was a kid. I had 11 brothers and sisters. We all got measles. It was a great week. We stayed home. We watched Sea Hunt. We got soup. What is the cure for measles? The treatment for measles is chicken soup and vitamin A. You can't patent those. So pharma was seeing all these people who were sick and making no money. But if they give you a measles, an MMR vaccine, and now 1 in every couple thousand people get the seizures, and 1 in every 1,000 of them now has lifetime epilepsy, you now have a customer for life who's paying a lot of money for chronic disease. Every one of these childhood diseases, mumps, measles, chicken pox, were self-limiting. In other words, after a week, they're gone. And they were all treatable. None of the chronic diseases that are caused by vaccines are self-limiting. They're lifetime injuries. They're treatable. The symptoms are treatable, but you're addicted. Now you have a 7. Like I'm buying for my kids $600 EpiPens for life, and albuterol inhalers, and Adderall, and all of these things that we now are this generation is addicted to, because they've all got chronic disease.
And everybody puts so much faith in pharma rather than faith in their own immune systems. Now, I want just a quick pointer for people that may not know this. There are 4 fat-soluble vitamins. Now, all the other vitamins are water-soluble. Just right off the bat, what's the difference between those two? Water-soluble vitamins, it's almost impossible to OD on, meaning all the excess that you eat that you don't use, you pee out. It's water soluble. You end up peeing it out. That's what happens. You don't store it. You don't retain it. But fat soluble, if you don't use it, it gets stored in your fat cells. Fat soluble vitamins, you can OD on. You can take too much to a point where you can make yourself sick by having too much of those vitamins. Now, there's only 4 of them. 3 of them are very common. For those of you that take multivitamins, it's always that little gel pill, that little like yellow orange colored pill that's gel, like a gelatin. That's your fat soluble. That's how you know. All the other ones are basically put into a powder because they're water soluble. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Those are your 4 fat soluble vitamins. Vitamin K, we get a shot when we're born. Outside of that, you really don't get it. It helps your blood clot, but we don't. I think it shows up in a lot of like really dark leafy green vegetables, like spinach and stuff like that has usually pretty high in vitamin K. So we get enough of it. But yeah, if you don't clot well, that might be something you'd want to consider. But again, overdoing it, don't be one of these people that's like just taking mad doses of vitamin A every day because you're worried about getting measles. You could actually make yourself sick on the vitamins. So if you're going to try to do something like that, at least study up on what to look for if you're a little high on, if you've got, say, too much vitamin A in your system, for example, what are some of the symptoms that you might start to notice? And so that might be a way for you to sort of gauge. Again, you should talk to a doctor and blah, 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 all that. I mean, I'm not trying to give you medical advice, but I am being cautious to people that tend to overdo stuff. Vitamin C and stuff like that, dude, take it all day long, man. You could eat gobs of that stuff and you ain't going to hurt yourself. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K, you can OD on. You can, actually, and make yourself sick. So just be careful. That's all. I'm sure I spent more time than I needed to on that. Iran-backed militias in Iraq ready to disarm to avert Trump's wrath. It's kind of an interesting little discussion that's happening. So several powerful Iranian-backed militias in Iraq are actually saying, nah, we're going to disarm. We're not doing this anymore. We're done. We're going to diffuse the tensions. We are going to disarm. And it's basically because they realize what's going to happen, and that is you guys are going to get annihilated. And they're like, we don't want to die. And Iran's like, well, you need to. That's best. And they're like, we don't want to. So we're not going to do that. So we'll see. I don't think Iran's going to attack them. And we're certainly not if they actually give up their weapons. So we'll see how that plays out exactly. I don't know if we just trust them. Like, oh, you're just going to put your weapons home and walk away, right? Like, okay. Now, this could very well have had to do with that little circle of people, the Houthis, that bomb dropped right in the middle of them, and well, there was no more of them. Let's just say that. It's unfortunate. In policy shift, State Department ends some bounties on Taliban's Haqqani network leaders. This is kind of not related to that other story, but is similar, that's for sure. But the State Department is defending its decision. This has to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban leaders that are basically running Afghanistan right now. We're adjusting our relationships with them. Now, what's also interesting is Russia has recently changed their what they consider the Taliban. They took them off the terrorist watch list, essentially, too. So they are, it sounds like the Taliban that are running Afghanistan might be some decent folks. Now, we wouldn't probably agree with their religious choices and all that nonsense, but it is a part of the world where our religion is not very well tolerated anyways. So it is what it is. But again, I still find that to be one of the most fascinating things about religions, how they seem to be very regional, which is kind of cool if you think about it. And then it ties into some of the new crap I've been learning. I actually started reading the second book of that Mario Biglio guys. Oh my God, that first book was so good. Second book's really good too. But yeah, it's just continuing on. And I've got another really, really cool book that I'm looking forward to starting after that. So I'm like, it's funny, I'm like sort of back into reading again when I kind of wasn't. I don't know. I went through a phase where I didn't want to read. I don't know why. Now I'm back to it. Ukraine's going to send a team to the U.S. next week for talks on new draft mineral deal. They realize that we're not going to give them a damn thing if they don't give us something in return. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts around that, Zelensky. You aren't getting shit from us ever again for free. Ever. We're not donating anything to you again. And Ukrainian people, I love you guys. You really need to seriously get rid of your leader. And we need to try to get you guys to ceasefire and get you guys to chill out with Russia. And hopefully you all can get along with the individuals that are in the Donbass and Luhansk and Crimea areas, that you guys can get along with each other. And if we can establish that, I think the world's going to be very kumbaya before you know it. So something to keep in mind. Brazil's Bolsonaro leads a rally in support of an amnesty law that he is facing trial for his alleged coup plot. Supposedly, this amnesty law could free him from criminal charges and eliminate the prison sentence of dozens of supporters who stormed the nation's Congress 2 years ago to protest the election of his successor and that horrible piece of trash Supreme Court gentleman that's there. I use the term gentleman very loosely. But yeah, that guy's a pilot. I can't remember his last name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the dude's last name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji. He was shot. What's really weird about this, they ruled this in the autopsy initially as a suicide, but his parents, well, they didn't like that so much. So this guy was a whistleblower for ChatGPT. He was talking about a lot of the scandalous stuff that they were doing and how they were training the ChatGPT, which is concerning. So the whistleblower, apparently, after his parents paid to have their own separate investigation into his death, and their own autopsy, if you will, and they found evidence of 2 gunshot wounds to the young man's head. Neither of them apparently were immediately fatal, which could imply that, it was a suicide gone wrong, but it also could have implied that someone was struggling and not wanting to be shot in the head. And so maybe the first shot wasn't real good and he was still moving maybe or something, and they shot him again, and it seems like both of those shots were not immediately fatal, which is strange if you're killing someone. It seems weird that you're not capable of just, straight to the forehead or the back of the head or, something that should be a lot more on the fatal side. At least one would assume. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to shooting people, that's for sure. I know that bullets tend to, mess people's days up. I think it's a given. Florida man was arrested for making written threats to kill President Trump on Facebook. I just love the fact that people aren't getting away with this kind of shit anymore. They used to, not anymore. These people are now being arrested. So DeSicco, that's his name, DeSicco? Am I saying that right? Probably. That's pretty funny. But yeah, he obviously hates Trump derangement syndrome, was threatening to kill him, all that kind of fun stuff. And the cops showed up. Supposedly, they arrested him without incident. He didn't struggle or fight or any of that nonsense. So, yeah, he's going to be in big trouble. State moves to protect Americans' DNA from China. This is weird to me. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but we've already given away a bunch of our stuff. The 23andMe got hacked. Over 7 million people's DNA got given to whoever. A lot of discussions that China has been manufacturing viruses and whatnot based off of genetics, that they've been borrowing our genetics, our genes, and essentially trying to make viral biological weapons that would specifically impact people that tend to be more American than people that maybe are Asian or other things. This has always been the hope, is to create a sickness that only affects your enemy and not yourself, right? Because otherwise you kill yourself, and that's never good, right? So, I don't know, a bunch of states, I don't think we need to list them off. Some of them are actually left-leaning states, but there's 13 states that have enacted laws regulating direct-to-consumer genetic testing and ensuring that consumers have the power to protect their DNA. Unless you get hacked, like they did, like 23andMe did, so I'm sure they're trying everything they can to protect it, but when they get hacked or phished, which is possibly what it was, most of the time we call it a hacking, 99% of the time it's actually phishing. And the difference for people hacking is when you literally have someone that's able to guess passwords or kind of dig through a password or get past a password. Phishing is when you literally get someone to log into a screen or give you information, or log into a screen and then present you all the information. Then you use that to do nefarious things. That's basically what phishing is. And a lot of times in corporations, they'll send you emails. They'll have you click on things. The second you do that, it puts an executable on your program. Usually it's got screen grabs, and typically it's got keystroke grabs. So anytime you do passwords and stuff like that, it is picking it up, and they're getting those pieces of data. So the second they got your password, it's toast. They immediately go into any of the places they want, and they immediately start to cause trouble immediately. So again, just word to the wise. If you ever get an email that says, hey, there's a problem, or hey, there's this, or hey, there's that, click here to log into Facebook, or click here to log into FedEx, or click here to log into whatever. Never, ever click there to log in. Never. I mean, unless you're 100% sure that this actually came from the company, it might look like it, so you can't go by that. You actually literally have to look at the email address, and if you're not savvy enough, just never, ever click on stuff like that. Go straight to the site. Go to FedEx.com, or go to UPS.com, or go to Amazon.com, or go to Facebook.com, and log in that way. Do not go through the app. Usually, almost always, that link that you're going to click has malicious code in it, and it will hose you. It will take your information, and if it's your bank or anything like that, they will immediately go to your bank and immediately withdraw money, and it will be too late. It will be gone. There's nothing they can do. So just be very careful not to give your information out. Supreme Court rejects challenge to New York gun law. This had to do with concealed carry and being able to just carry in public anywhere. And New York passed a law that was talking about like public spaces, like healthcare facilities, churches, parks, entertainment venues, and other places where people gather. The Supreme Court basically said, look, we're still okay with New York saying you can't bring firearms to those locations. I don't know. I kind of think that's not a bad idea. Like there could be, you could go to a concert and there might be, 1,000 people that have a gun, but one of those 1,000 people could just start shooting people and kill a bunch of people before anybody ever figures out who they are. You're just better off not having guns. You go to the metal detector, everybody's kind of on an even playing field. I don't know. I think there's places where we probably prefer not to have firearms until we can get people to stop being crazy. And I think we're a little ways away from that. So again, a lot of times we have to protect ourselves from ourselves. Because, again, I'm very pro-guns, man. I'm very pro-guns. I got 4. I love them. I love firearms. Firearms are a blast. A lot of fun to shoot. Enjoy it very much. But not everybody should have a gun because some people are breaking batshit crazy. And there's places where, I don't know, churches I disagree with. I think church is an okay place to have a gun, especially with some of the stuff that's happened in churches. The entertainment venue is probably the one I agreed with most. Parks, I don't know, whatever. I kind of think that's kind of weird. Healthcare facilities, I also don't necessarily have a problem with that, but a lot of emotions can get involved in healthcare facilities. Someone dies, stuff like that. You get pissed off, you can pull out your gun and start, But the entertainment venues is probably the one that I totally think we should not have firearms at. I just don't think that's a good idea. Whatever, that's my opinion, Don't have to agree with it. Sound of Freedom producer says AI tool helped nab child trafficker that eluded FBI for 10 years. Pretty good grab on their part. They actually got a black hat hacker, like a bad hacker, to do some good work, which makes him a gray hat hacker technically. But black hats are ones that literally hack stuff, literally steal passwords, all that kind of crap. They literally used a black hat individual to create AI tools that actually sniffs the dark web and looks for these child trafficking, these child sex websites, if you will, if you can call them that are on the dark web. Literally looks for them. It just searches for them, which is awesome. One thing most people don't quite understand. All the websites that we type in when we go to Google or whatever the hell, right? DuckDuckGo, whatever website you type in, literally Google knows of 3% of the websites. 3% of all the websites Google knows about. 97% of all the websites are dark web. Yeah. And darker. I mean, there's a crap ton of stuff. You need a solid onion router, and you need to know what you're doing. And I've never even really played around in that. I've kind of wanted to, but I know the second you start searching for a lot of that stuff, you immediately end up in databases. So that's been kind of my concern, because I don't want to do that search on anything that I own, if you know what I mean, or any of my friends' stuff. I wouldn't want to do that to a friend. Like a library might be cool if I know there's no camera. But yeah, there's some stuff that you definitely don't want to search. It will show up and bite you in the buttocks. Air Force has created, through an executive order of Trump's, they have allowed a path or created a pathway for people that voluntarily quit. Not the ones that got essentially removed because they refused to take the COVID vaccine. There's a different path for them. But for those that actually voluntarily quit instead of getting the vaccine, there's now a pathway, at least for Air Force, to be able to come back. I don't know about the back pay. I think so. offered back a path back. They're going to get their rank and pay back. I don't know if they get back pay. I don't think that's built into this maybe, but it does allow you the opportunity to come back, which I think is pretty cool. And finally, I want to remind you guys of ways that you can support, just image-wise, my channel. I don't actually make a dime off any of the merchandise that I've currently got going on, but there's some great people that are, have gone and done some wonderful work to help. One of them is the lady that made the Dan I'd Rather shirt. She drew that. I think she did an amazing job on it. And so if you're interested in that, there is always a link in the description, or you can go to bonfire.com/Dan-I'd-Rather 160. And that actually takes you straight to here. And again, there's a bunch of different things you can get that put on. It's cool. They haven't sold very many of these. I was kind of surprised. I'm betting you I'm probably 20 of those, 25 of those. So we've sold a few. Kind of fun. And then, of course, our good friends over at truththread.shop. If you go to truththread.shop, got a bunch of Dan Radio style stuff over here as well. The hats. We've got the sweatshirts and everything. We've got the mugs. And also got some other cool stuff that she does for us. 9/11, never forget, inside job. It's got a whole bunch of information on the back, so you can click on the pictures. You can get to all the pictures on the backs. They're really cool. The day that Trump got shot, the Ephesians 6:11, fight, fight, fight. Trump was shot at 6:11 and all that stuff. A whole bunch of information in there. That's very, very cool. And then the 5G warfare shirt is the other big one that's going on. So again, a lot of great products. Go to truththread.shop. That's truththread.shop. A bunch of different ways that you can support the channel. I think I'm sporting the Dan I'd Rather. Yeah, I got my Dan I'd Rather shirt on right now. And again, the hat from truththread.shop. I'm just all over the place, folks. All over the place. But again, great stuff. Folks, the world's changing. We're going through a big hiccup. The stock market is going to do what it's going to do. It needs to come down a bunch. It's way overinflated. This is part of that process. They're going to blame it on Trump. We knew they would. Trump knew they would. This isn't a big surprise to anybody. But just keep pushing forward. Don't panic. If you got out before it happened, cool. Don't try to get out of it now. If you're in it still, stay in it. That's why I've stopped doing the Goldco commercial at this point, because it's not a good idea to do. I can't recommend it. It was a great idea before the stock market took a shit. I think we're probably going to see maybe close to a 20% drop. I think that's probably close to reality, maybe further. It depends on what China does, but again, if that's the case, it's going to drop all the world markets a lot, which kind of goes a long way towards almost deflationary situation. So just be careful. Don't panic, or don't become a Panican or Panican. Don't do it. It's not worth it at this point. Hold tight, hold your ground, relax. We'll get through this. And if there is something that you want to get that's typically made in China, don't wait. That's for sure. Get it ASAP. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it for a little while. Something to keep in mind as well. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.